Hanif Muhammad to come forward and give us our speak for tonight. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Inshallah, before we begin, I know we recited Surah Al-Fatiha earlier, but for our brothers that continue to suffer throughout the world, in all the hot spots, with all the Muslims, I ask you again to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Ibna Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum ya Ibna Mu'mineen. Assalamu alaikum ya Ibna Fatima Zahra. Assalamu alaikum ya Ibna Khadijatul Kubra. Assalamu ala Hussain wa ala Ali ibn Hussain wa ala Ali Hussain wa ala Ashab Hussain جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. أما بعد، فقال الله تعالى في الكتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إكراه في الدين. صدق الله العظيم. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, believing men and believing women, to our esteemed scholars that are present, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Inshallah, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to send our deepest condolences and to invite the Imam of all time to our Najlis by bringing him in with a very loud and heartfelt salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Inshallah, tonight, like the other nights that we celebrate during this time of Muharram, we come together and we give the Majlis of Imam Hussain, and we do a commemoration for the events that happened in Karbala. We will dedicate our days and our nights to remembering the tragedy that took place in Karbala, and we will celebrate the victory of Imam Hussain.
Ameen.
There are many people that think that because there was a lot of death and a lot of bloodshed, that this was a loss, but this was an ultimate triumph.
Wow.
This was the highest of victories. And inshallah, when we understand what that victory is, then we'll all want to achieve the same type of victories that our great Imam Hussain had given to us. We will take the time to learn from the example of those who were obedient to their Imam, and for those who made sacrifices fi sabilillah. It was through their triumph that we are all practicing Muslims today, regardless of what your madhab is. If they didn't take that time and follow those directions, there would be no Islam. Because those who went to war against our Imam, they stated that there was no Allah, that there was no angel Jibril, and that our blessed Prophet Muhammad made up these stories about Islam and the angel Jibril and all these other things so that he and his clan, the Bani Hashim, would be able to control the Arabs. But those men who were responsible for the death of our Imam, their ultimate goal was to do away with Islam. But through death, we see that there's life. And the life that we have comes with instructions. And the instructions that we have comes through Islam that was revised by Imam Hussain and those who died with him in Karbala. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
But on a night like tonight, we, those of us who say that we're the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, those of us who will call ourselves Shia, we are not alone in commemorating and celebrating the life and the death of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Many brothers of other madhabs tonight are also crying. They're also mourning. They're also looking and seeing how it was that Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam made the ultimate sacrifice towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are thankful for him. But there are some that do try to take away the importance of this sacrifice. There are some who question the whole concept of compulsion in religion by making the arguments that it doesn't appear that Imam Hussain had a choice of whether or not he would be martyred. Then you have those who make the argument and they say that if Imam Hussain knew that he was going to die, he knew the place that he was going to die, he knew the day that he was going to die, and he went to that place anyway, that he didn't make a sacrifice, that he actually committed suicide. In fact, last year, during the holy month of Ramadan, there was one of our alims, someone who says that he's a follower of Ahlul Bayt, who had an interview, and during this interview, he said that Imam Hussain committed suicide. Now, when you listen to this interview, you had an understanding that this young man, that his language was English. He grew up in this country, but he did not understand the English vernacular. Because in English, there is no such thing as an honorable suicide. In fact, the term suicide means to intentionally take one's life. A person who commits suicide doesn't care when it happens, how it happens, where it happens. They just want to relieve themselves of a temporary problem that they have come up with a permanent solution to, and that permanent solution is suicide. So to say that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, who is Masoom, who does no sin, committed suicide, is the craziest thing ever. Why? Because suicide in Islam is the same as committing murder. And murder is a major sin. So those who are Masoom will never do any type of major sins, nor minor sins, let alone take their own lives. For those that hold these opinions about Imam, I would like to take these arguments that they have, and I'd like to examine them under the light of material that we have that is agreed upon by all schools of thought. And we'll go through the collections of Islamic books, hadith, and history, and we'll begin with the birth of Imam Hussain. And we'll travel all the way up until the time that he dies. And what we find out about the birth of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam was that there were a few people that were around when he was born, and those women were the aunts of Rasulullah. You had Safiya bin Abdul Muttalib, you had Asma bin Umayyah, you had Salama, who were present when Imam Hussain was born. Now, after Imam Hussain was born, we find that the Prophet asked his aunt Safiya to bring him the baby. For those of you who are parents, brand new fathers, brand new mothers, but for those of us in here who are grandparents, you understand what it is to see your grandchild for the very first time. There's a sense of pride that you have in seeing this child. You know that your posterity is there because of this child. You will continue to live on because of this particular child. But this wasn't an ordinary child. This was a blessed child. And when the Prophet asked his auntie, Safiya, to bring the baby, his aunt said, we haven't cleaned the baby yet. The Prophet Muhammad said, you haven't cleaned the baby yet? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created him pure and he has purified him with a thorough purification.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So he took the baby in his arms and he hugged that baby and he caressed that baby and he made the call of prayer, the adhan, in his right ear. And then he read the Iqamah in his left ear. And he placed the baby in his lap and he began to cry. Now those that were around him, Asma came and she said, may my mother and my father be your sacrifice, Ya Rasulullah. This is a joyous occasion. Why is it that you're crying? Because this is a newborn baby. You should be happy. You should be praying that this baby has a happy life. But he said, oh Asma, I have been told that a transgressing part of my ummah, the people who say that they believe in me, the people who gave bayat to me, the people who walked with me, the people who talked with me, the people who broke bread with me, a part of those people will kill my son. But he says, oh Asma, do not tell Fatima this, because she just had this baby and she won't be able to deal with this type of tragic news. And we find that after then that the angel Jibril alayhi salam, he descended down to the Prophet and he told the Prophet what this baby's name would be. And he said his name will be Shabir. What is the significance of Shabir? Shabir is the name of the second son of Harun. And that name in Arabic is Hussein. And for those who really don't understand the correlation between Musa and Harun and Rasulullah and Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, the idea is that Harun's sons were given the responsibility of establishing and protecting the interpretation of the Torah as it was revealed to Nabi Musa. And the responsibility of it protecting the interpretation of the Quran was given to who? The sons of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So the angel Jibril, after he tells the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam what this baby's name is going to be, he then congratulates him on this son, but then he sends his deepest condolences on him also. And he sends those deepest condolences and he tells him about this thing that was going to happen at Kerbala. Now what we have right here is that now we know that Prophet Muhammad knows that his grandson is going to die. Who else knew that he was going to die? From the books of our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'at, they say that all the prophets knew about the death of Imam Hussain. They say in their books that all the prophets of God, from Adam to Nabi Nuh, to Nabi Musa, to Zachariah, to Yahya, all the way to our own Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that all of them cried and remembered on a yearly basis the day of Ashura. So this isn't a new phenomenon. This has been something that has been going on since the creation of mankind. Since we knew ourselves, when they prophets knew about the death of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. To begin, I'll address these misconceptions with those who think that there was compulsion in this religion, or that Imam Hussain actually committed suicide. Now, normally in a situation like this, I would take the position of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. And the reason why I would take the position of Imam Hussain is because I am on Imam Hussein's side. But tonight I'm going to give you another way to look at this situation. Was it that Imam Hussain moved under compulsion, because if you say Imam Hussain moved under compulsion, then you have to also say that the people that killed Imam Hussain, they too moved under compulsion. Am I right? One man can't move under compulsion, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with free will. We have the ability to make a choice. Did not the people who decided that they were going to kill our Imam, did they have a choice, or didn't they? Didn't they have a choice in what it was that they were going to do as far as the Imam was concerned? We find that Imam Hussain, when it comes to Rasulullah and what it is that he said about Imam Hussain, he told all the people that Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain were the chiefs of the youth of paradise. Who did he tell this to? Everybody. Who knew about it? Everybody. Those people were not like us. Some of us in here, we can recite the Arabic. We can read the Quran. We can say Salaam Alaikum. But if we were to sit back and to say, do we have a thorough understanding of the Arabic language, except for my brother Ali here, many of us cannot say that we understood that language. But those people that were with Rasulullah, this was their mother tongue. They had no excuse. They knew what the Prophet said. They didn't need an interpreter. They didn't need a translation. It was already there for them. What was their excuse? We find that the Prophet Muhammad, he said, Hussein is from me, and I am from Hussein. Who knew that? Everybody knew it. So what was their excuses? Abu Hurairah said, the Prophet looked at Ali, Hassan, Hussein, and Fatima, and then he said, I am at war with those who will fight you, and in peace with those who are peaceful with you. What happened? We look at the history and we find that there were people who went to war with Bibi Fatima. They came because they wanted her husband to give bayat to them, so they pushed the door on him. That's going to war. We find it with Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. They went to war with him. With Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, they went to war with him. With Imam Hussain, they went to war with him. What happened? They were Arabs. Arabic was their mother tongue. The basic tenet of Islam is obedience. Ya ayyuhalladhina aminu. Atiyu Allah wa atiyu Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. O you who believe, obey Allah. Obey his messenger and obey those who have authority over you. The Prophet said, I am at war with you. Could they truly obey Rasulullah by going to war against his son? No way. We find that the Prophet says, he's made to say in the Holy Quran, O Prophet, tell the people that I don't ask any wage in return for my prophethood except to love my near of kin. In Arabic, for those who understand Arabic, they know that Arabic is a very, very rich language. There are a lot of words that you could use for the word family. A'illah, Usrat. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Quran, he says, Maqareeb. The word Qareeb means close, very close. And this close relationship is so close that the people that he's referring to here are actually what they refer to as womb relations. And these people that have these womb relations have a special connection with you. These people, when they leave you, they can't go nowhere else because they are a part of you. Now, those people that aren't your womb relations, if something happens between you and them, they go back to their families. Subhanallah. Here we find that Ibn Abbas, he narrates, And the companion came to him and said, "O Ibn Abbas, who is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made their love? Not just any love, but this reciprocal love. Not just any reciprocal love, but a love that means I will sacrifice for them. A love that means that I will follow them. A love that means that I will give my all for them. Who is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this type of love obligatory for me?" Not optional, but obligatory. He said, "It's Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein."
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Who was the Prophet talking to? He was talking to the Arabs. So again, there was nothing lost in translation. There was no slip of the tongue. They understood what was being said. Why didn't they act on it? We find next, we just celebrated the Mubahala. And in the Mubahala, there's a part of the verse, and we as followers of the Ahlul Bayt, we get very happy about this verse. But as I tell people all the time, the Mubahala, and it's a very big problem that we're having here in America and around the world, we find that many Muslims today are actually becoming Christians. If you don't want to take my word for it, go online. And these people who have never studied the religion, never lived the religion, a day in their lives, who didn't have an understanding of what the Mubahala was all about, they walked away from this religion, and what they're telling people is, oh, Islam oppresses people. Islam oppresses women. And we're going to follow who? Our personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Astaghfirullah. But during this Mubahala, we get happy with this verse because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if anyone has any disputes with you, if anyone wants to refute this information, now that clear evidence has come to you, we'll bring our sons, you bring your sons. We bring our women, you bring your women. We bring ourselves, you bring yourselves. But why was this done anyway? Because the Christians came and they said, "Oh Muhammad," not Rasulullah, they didn't see him as a prophet. "Oh Muhammad, what is your opinion of Jesus Christ? We say that he is the Son of the living God." Our prophet said, "Do not deify Jesus Christ. For the similitude of Jesus in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the same of that as Adam. For he created him from dust, and whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees a matter, he says to him simply, be, and it is." The Christians were not happy with that. They said, "Oh Prophet, oh Muhammad, we don't agree with that." The Prophet said, "Okay, put your money where your mouth is. What we're going to do is we're going to come together and we're going to have this Mubahala where we ask and we pray for the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be on those who are the liars." But they didn't just stop there with the question about Isa bin Maryam, but they also asked about another question of Tawheed. What is your opinion of Allah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Rasulullah, "Qul huwa Allahu ahad." Did the Christians have this in their books? Of course they had. But their book said, "Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad." Hear ye Israel, the Lord thy God is one. We had the same thing. Say, he is Allah, the one and only. So these people, Rasulullah, he had yaqeen. He had certitude in what? Tawheed. So he said, what we're going to have this Mubahala about is Tawheed. Why did Imam Hussain والسلام, make a stand at Karbala? To protect this same Tawheed. So when they came for this Mubahala, the Christians saw who Rasulullah bought. He bought the chiefs of the youth of paradise. Imam Hussain and Imam Hussain.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
He bought the chief of the women of all the world, Fatima Zahra.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa وآل محمد.
And he brought the chiefs of all the successors of every prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
When the Christians saw this, they had a change of mind. Their leader said, hey, wait a minute, hold up. I see these faces with so much light that if any one of them were to pray for the mountains to move, the mountains will move from their place. He said, if you do not enter into agreement with this Muhammad, I swear by God that if one of them was to pray for our annihilation, that we'll be wiped off of the face of this earth forever. So they got into this agreement with Rasulullah. But they missed something very important, and I promise I'll move on. The idea that these Christians said that these people would pray to God. What God? It's only one God. If they didn't realize that the prophet was a prophet, then it wouldn't have mattered who he prayed to. Why didn't they become Muslims? They missed the whole point. If we explain to the people what the Mubahala is, how many people that are Muslim will leave Islam to go towards Christianity? None. We have to explain to the people what this is. But we get happy about this. But not only did Rasulullah let us know that these people were purified in this verse, but we have a hadith that is mutawatir, which means that it is accepted by all schools of thought. And that hadith is the hadith-i-Kisa. And in this hadith-i-Kisa, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, my angels, O residents of the heavens. This is not Rasulullah. This is not Imam Ali. This is not a reporter of hadith. This is what we call hadith Qudsi, because now we hear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's actually talking. What does he say? He says, O my angels, my residents of my heaven, verily I have not created and erected the sky. I have not stretched the earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for the love of these five lying underneath this cloak. The angel Jibril, alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, who is it that's under this cloak? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, they are the household of the Prophet and the assets of prophethood. They are Fatima, her father, her husband, and her two sons. Did you see or did you hear who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned first? They say that in Islam, we don't honor the woman, but the one that was mentioned first was not Rasulullah, but it was actually Bibi Fatima to Zahra. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And the Prophet, when this hadith Kisa was revealed, when was it revealed? It was the day before the Mubahala. It was the night before the Mubahala. And the Prophet, he said, Ya Allah, this is my family under this blanket, under this Kisa, under this cloak. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did something special. He sent down the verse of Tahira. He said, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. Salawat. He said, oh, people of the house, Allah only wishes to keep away all manners of uncleanliness from about you or from on you, and to purify you with a thorough purification. Some people, they translate this verse and they say, oh, people of the house, Allah wishes to remove. There was nothing to remove. He kept it at the status quo and said he wants to continue to keep away all this impurities that may come upon you. For what reason? Because now these people are going into battle by doing what? Having this mubahala. Talking about what? Tawheed. This thing is always about Tawheed. Who was familiar with all of these things? The Prophet's people. They knew the status of the Ahlul Bayt. Did they not speak Arabic? Did they not understand what the Prophet was talking about? Of course they did. So where do we fall off at? Inshallah, we begin and I'll move forward We begin in Medina after the death of Muawiyah and his name in Yazid as the caliph of the Islamic Ummah after he signed the Sulh, or the treaty with Imam Hussain. This treaty gave us a written document to let us know what type of a man this Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan was. In Islam, we honor our contracts, and there's a severe kafara or punishment for those of us who do not honor our contracts. In this contract, he said, in case I die, Hassan ibn Ali, if you are still alive, the caliphship, the rulership of Islam goes back to you. And if you are not alive, then it goes to my brother, Imam Hussain. Who signed this? Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan. Who knew about the signature? Everybody. We're going to move on. We're going to find out what Imam Hussain was talking about, because this shit becomes very, very important. But instead of that, he said, you know what? I'm going to give this caliphship to my son Yazid anyway. He didn't honor his contract, but this Yazid was an evil individual. He said that in order for me to have a successful caliphship, I need to get rid of a few people. We talked about Abdullah ibn Zubair. We talked about Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and it was said that if we could control these two, then the caliphship of Yazid would go without a hitch. No one else would oppose this. And we find that this person, instead of him trying to deal with things on the right way, he wanted to have a meeting with the Imam in the middle of the night. He goes out and he summons his henchmen to go out and get Imam Hussain to have this secret meeting to give bay'at in the middle of the night. Well, if Imam Hussain gives bay'at in the middle of the night and he kills Imam at night, what happens? Who's there to fight? Our Imam, he's bright. He's of Al Muhammad. He's been given special insight. He's not afraid. He's the son of Imam Ali. His uncle is Jafar Intiyar. His uncle is Hamza. So we know he's not afraid to fight, but he had another mission in mind. He had another purpose that he had to fulfill. So when they tried to force him to give him bay'at, the Imam said, no way. And the door actually was kicked in. And you had a brother by the name of Abbas who was standing there. And he said, no, there's no bed tonight. And everybody else said, okay, good night. They knew who he was, and they knew what type of a fighter he was. And no one wanted to taste that sword, because he swung the sword like his father, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam.
Allahumma sallallahu Muhammad wa ali takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Allahumma sallallahu Muhammad wa ali takbir.
But we find that there was a cunning person that was also there in Medina. His name was Marwan. And Marwan always had a trick up his sleeve. So Marwan said, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to speak to Hussein in the morning. And I'm going to try to reason with Imam Hussein. So the next morning he goes to Imam Hussein and he says to the Imam, he said, you know, it would be better for the Islamic Ummah if you go on and give bay'at to Yazid. There's so many benefits that you could get. The Imam said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. If I give bay'at to a man like this, the Islamic Ummah is over. There is no more Ummah. What are you talking about? It's finished. So the Imam, he knew that he had a choice to make. There was a decision that he had to make. Because Yazid, not only did he send his henchmen there to get the bay'at, but he said, if Imam Hussain does not give you bay'at, if he doesn't give you his hand in bay'at, I want his head for defiance. So the Imam, some people say that our Imam went on the run. Nah. Our Imam used strategy. Why? Because he was at a pivotal point in history. He had to make a decision that was going to affect us from now until the end of time. What decision was that? Our Imam could have stood right there and stood up for Islam and had this fight right there in Medina. But what history would have said was that not Imam Hussain stood there to uphold the sunnah of his grandfather, but this renegade son of the prophet, he rebelled against the caliph of his time and brought fitna into the ummah, and he brought bloodshed into Medina to Nabi. So our Imam did what? To avoid bloodshed, he moved. He went from Medina to Mecca. Now here's something that's really ironic. Just 50 some odd years, 60 some odd years before then, actually it's more than that, his grandfather moved from Mecca to Medina to seek what? Asylum. Now he's going from Medina back to Mecca to seek asylum. Not only did the Imam go back to Mecca, but the Imam went back to Mecca during the Hajj season. He was there for a few months, and he felt like if I'm here, I could get some rest. I could get some relaxation. Everything has amnesty in Mecca. You can't even kill a mosquito in Mecca during the Hajj season. But he found that there was a man, this Yazid, he sent 32 assassins into Mecca, and he says, if you find Hussein ibn Ali, even if he's hanging on to the very corner of the Kaaba, kill him and bring me his head. Now, for the people who said that there's compulsion in religion, that Imam Hussain didn't have a choice of whether or not he would die, I have to ask the question, did the people who came to Medina to kill Imam Hussain, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use any compulsion to make them come after Imam Hussain? Or did they make a choice? When the Imam got to Mecca, did the people go to Mecca to kill the Imam in Mecca because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used compulsion to make them kill him? Or did they have a choice? They all had a choice. The Imam, he could have stayed in Mecca, and he could have stood up and he could have made his fight right then and there. But he made a choice. I'm not going to fight here. Because again, what would history record of that event? The renegade son of the prophet brought bloodshed where? To the Kaaba. And what would we be with Islam? Nowhere. So I say to the people, for a person that is trying to commit suicide, again, a person that's going to commit suicide, he doesn't care where he commits suicide. He doesn't care how he commits suicide. The Imam, he moved these strategic places to do what? To preserve his life. And when he made these moves, who did he move with? Did he move with the army? No. He moved with his family. Who takes his sisters to war? Who takes his daughters to war? Who takes his brother's sons to war? To say that our Imam did that, we have not understood what Islam is about. So our Imam, while he's in Mecca, he's receiving these letters. Now for those of us who on a nightly basis, we say, Allahumma kundi waliyaka al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai. We say this thing all the time. We need to take note that we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say, after we say Imam Mahdi, ajalallahu ta'ala farajim sharif, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten his return, we better be careful. Because we're asking our Imam to do what people did from Kufa, and that was to ask their Imam to make hijrah.
Ameen. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Are you really realizing the commitment that you're actually making?
Bring it on, man.
Now the people from Kufa, they sent all of these letters, and they sent a person and they said, oh Imam, we want you to be our Imam and give us guidance because we have no one to guide us. We know that if we have your leadership, that we'll be guided aright. But the Imam, understanding that these people of Kufa, they have a relationship with Al-Muhammad. You see, because there were some people at Kufa during the time of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, when the Imam called them to bear arms and to go defend Islam, they backed out on it. Imam Hussain, these same people in Kufa, when it was time for him to go and stand up for the Tawheed, to stand up for the religion of Islam, these people did what?
They
backed out on him.
Yes, they did.
Here's the same people again. That's so our Imam said, I have to inspect what it is that I'm going to expect. So he said, I'm going to send my most trusted person. I'm going to send the man who's not only my cousin, but he's my best friend. And I know if somebody's going to give me the real story about what's going on in Kufa, I know this man, Muslim bin Aqil, he's going to go, he's going to take care of business, and he's going to report back to me what it is that I should do.
Amen.
Now, there's some people that say today that there's only one of the ulama that has the ability to convey with our Imam what's going on here. I disagree with it. All of the ulama are representatives of that Imam. And when we go to our ulama and we continue to say, please, please inform the Imam that we're ready for the Imam to come, that they are our forerunners to the Imam, just like Muslim bin Aqil was for Imam Hussain.
Bring it up.
Now, when Imam Hussain was going to Kufa, was he going to commit suicide, or was he going to a place where people said, we're ready to receive you? Come on in.
That's right.
Let us know what it is we need to do for you, and we'll do that. But when Muslim bin Aqil went to Kufa, he found that the people, their hearts were sincere. But they say that there's no love. They say that there's no friendship. They say that there's no true companionship unless there's a test. The test came when Yazid sent Ibn Ziyad into Kufa. And when he put the pressure on the people, and he started arresting some people, the true followers were arrested. The true followers were murdered. Yep. When the people who didn't have their heart, who didn't really accept the walayat of Imam Hussain, when they saw this pressure, they folded like a deck of cards. Yeah. They had no backbone. But yet these were the same people who said, Allahumma kuni waliyakam Hujjat ibn Ali.
Those are the ones. Those are the ones. Amen.
We say Hujjat ibn Hussain.
That's right. Amen.
Hassan, pardon me.
That's right.
We are in the same predicament.
Amen. Amen.
Our Imam received a letter from Muslim bin Aqil before the pressure came on these people.
Yes, sir.
And he said to the Imam, I think that these people are truly sincere. But on a light night tonight, when we see that the people that were in Kufa, were they under compulsion to walk away from Imam Hussain? Or did they make a choice? The people who traveled from Shams to go into Kufa to kill the Imam, did they go under compulsion or did they have a choice? All the way around we see that everybody had a choice to make, and tonight, you and I, we have that same choice that we have to make. What choice are we going to make? Are we going to be the ones who stood up for the Imam? Are we going to be the ones who escaped from Kufa to meet the Imam on the road to Kerbala and to defend the Imam? Are we going to be like those when the Imam was in their faces, they act like, I didn't send that letter to you, Imam. It wasn't me. I know it looked like my signature, but somebody must have forged my name there. Here's what we're doing. We're inviting ourselves to invite our Imam to come out of the world of Ghaiba and make hijrah to this world of the scene. On a night like tonight, we find that there was a true follower of Imam Hussain. And this true follower of Imam Hussain was his cousin, Muslim ibn Aqil. And what we have to do, brothers and sisters, when it comes down to Kerbala, when it comes down to this tragedy that happened to Imam Hussain, is we have to begin to take a personal account. We have to have a personal relationship with the Imam so that our tears will begin to flow. Because if you don't care about a person, if you don't have this relationship with a person, you can't begin to cry for him. But tonight, for those of you who have a favorite cousin, for those of you who have a best friend, who you love this best friend, who you share everything with when it comes to this friend that in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, if he calls, you're getting out of your bed to go see this friend. This is who that friend is. that if it's 1,000 people coming down the street and there's only you and this friend, that this friend isn't going to take off while you're looking the other way. That he's going to stand back to back, side to side with you, and if you got to die, you're going to die together. This was who Muslim bin Aqil was. When our Imam sent Muslim bin Aqil into Kufa, he told him to do something. He said, oh Muslim, take your 2 sons. Why? Because he said if the people see you with your 2 sons, they would know that you're not coming to go to war. This isn't suicide. The Imam found the people who said, again, they said, not the Imam, they said, oh Imam, we're ready to follow you. We're ready, like we say. So Muslim bin Aqil, he goes to Kufa. And when he goes there, he meets with the people. And the people are happy. The people are overjoyed. They said, oh Muslim bin Aqil, go on and write that letter back to Imam Hussain so he can come on. The first day he didn't write that letter. No, he said, no, you guys might be playing with my emotions here. I'm going to wait a minute. The next day they said, oh, Muslim bin Aqil, go on and write the letter to the Imam so he can come on. Muslim said, no, the time is not here. The following day, the people came to the masjid. That's right. They said it was thousands of people in the masjid. They were happy and they were overjoyed. And Muslim bin Aqil, he led the prayer. And the people were happy. But somebody said that there was somebody coming. And the person that was coming, he had on his turban. He had his imama on. But he covered his face. And when he came into Kufa, he came in like he was royalty. He came in like he was the Imam. But he was the wolf in sheep's clothing. It was Ibn Ziyad. And when he came in there, the people folded. They saw him and they said, oh boy, we're in trouble now. Yazid is sending his henchmen. He's going to kill us. They forgot that the real reward, the real triumph comes from martyrdom. And if they died in the cause and trying to protect Imam Hussain, what does Allah say in the Quran? Say not of the martyr that he is dead. For he is alive, though you do not perceive it. Receiving sustenance from his Lord. Do we understand? But these people, when they saw Ibn Ziyad, some of the people, they stood up and they were strong. Muslim bin Aqil, he had already sent that letter, but he knew he made a mistake. The next day, the army came in and they began to arrest all the real soldiers. They began to kill all the real soldiers. And we find that Muslim bin Aqil, he became a stranger in a strange land. That the people said, that who they said that would protect him, that would protect his Imam. That now, they said, I don't even know you. Yeah. He came and he knocked on their doors. Brother, I was just at your house last night. No, brother, you wasn't here. That wasn't me. You got the wrong address. That was around the corner somewhere. He knocked on the doors and he asked them, let me in. You asked me to come here. And he ran around the city because Ibn Ziyad said, kill him wherever you find him. So we find Muslim bin Aqil. He's looking for refuge. He's that stranger. Many of us are strangers in a strange land. What would happen if our Imam comes back now? He would truly be a stranger in a strange land. He was looking for refuge from somebody. And he went around the city and he finally sat down on somebody's stoop. And when he sat down on the person's stoop, there was a little lady. She came out and she said, son, are you okay? Are you all right? It looks like something is truly troubling you. Muslim bin Aqil said, lady, I came to this town because I had a mission for my leader. Now, this woman was an older woman. She said, who was it that you come into town for? Hussein ibn Ali. I know the Caliph Ali. I knew him. I loved him. I will give you rest. Come on in so that I can give you rest. Are we going to be this woman? Are we going to be this woman's son? Because if you remember, Muslim bin Aqil went into the woman's house. She took him upstairs Muslim said, all I want to do is spend the night in prayer and supplication to my Lord. This woman's son came in, and the woman said, listen, I have a guest. He's upstairs. Don't tell nobody that he's here. That dude found out that there was some money involved.
That's right. That's right.
How much money? Okay. All right, mommy, I'm not going to tell. Mommy fell asleep on the couch.
Yep.
He went out the door and did what? He told. And when he told, Ibn Ziyad, he did what? He sent an army.
Yep.
But he forgot who he sent in that army to. We see that Muslim bin Aqil, when he came up from his sujood, he thanked the woman for allowing him to have refuge. And then he said to the woman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So Muslim bin Aqil, he goes outside and he begins to fight. And as he begins to fight, what is it that's on his mind? He says, Ya Allah, I have to do what? I have to get word back to who? To my Imam, to my cousin, to my best friend. So they sent 100 men first. But one of the men who came towards